kind of related to the spread operator are rest parameters. And for that, I'll again tweak my add function. So I'll comment out all that code up here so that nothing breaks, and re-add my add function with any syntax you want, with the function keyword, as an arrow function, whatever you want. But now I want to have a special function. I don't want to restrict it to 2 values. I want to be able to add as many values as the user passes in, so that we can basically call add like this: 5, 10, 2, 3.7, and so on, with as many values as you want. If you would want to call it with 10 values, that should also be possible. Now, of course, however, right now it's not possible, as you can clearly see. TypeScript is giving me an error, and correctly so, because I'm accepting no arguments here. Now, of course, I could accept 4 arguments here and assign the correct types, but what if I then call it with 5? As I said, I want to be flexible. That's where REST parameters come in. In the place where you expect a list of values, so not where you want to pass it, but where you want to accept it as incoming values, you can also use the 3 dots and then any name of your choice, like numbers. Now, what this will do is it will merge all incoming parameters, or generally the incoming list of values, comma-separated list of values, into an array. So numbers here will be an array, but of course by default a type of any values, so an array full of any values. And that's not what we should do. We should be more explicit, and here we could say it will be a number array, like that. So now we are defining the correct type, and now we can work with that numbers array. Now we can sum that up in a couple of different ways. We can work with a result variable and then a for loop, because numbers is an array. So here we could loop through numbers and add that to the result. Or we use the reduce method, which is available on arrays. Reduce works such that it performs an operation on every element in an array, returns a result, and then adds these results together. For that, you provide a function to reduce, and then a starting value, which here is 0. And then this function, which you pass to reduce, itself takes 2 arguments, and that's the current result, you could say, and it's the current value, which we're looking at, which will be each value of the array once. And then here you can return cur result, which for the first run will be that initial value here, plus cur value. And if you do that, reduce overall here will return a number. So here we can overall return the result of numbers reduced, and hence the add variable or constant here will in the end hold a function which takes a couple of numbers, not an array of numbers, but because of the REST parameters, a list of numbers, which is then merged into an array inside of the function, and which returns a number in the end. So therefore now if we save everything, it should all work, and we see the result, the sum of our little addition here. So that's REST parameters, a really useful feature for accepting an unlimited amount of arguments. And a couple of built-in methods like the push method work exactly that way. You see, push here has this strange parameter definition. Well, that's exactly what we just learned. Push here takes a couple of items for this array, which is an array full of strings. It takes a couple of strings. And this does not mean it takes an array of strings, but instead here with the REST parameters, a comma-separated list of strings, which inside of push is then merged into an array and handled internally. That is the REST parameters syntax. You can even combine this with tuples, by the way. If you know you want to support multiple arguments, but you know how many it will be, so if it's not an unlimited list, then you can also use a tuple type there and, for example, say, I do accept my 3 numbers here, and then I have to remove the 4th argument here, of course, when calling the function, because now I'm pretty clear that I want to get 3 arguments which each are numbers. So of course we could have just added 3 standalone parameters here, but this syntax might still be a bit shorter or easier to set up than adding the 3 parameters. It really depends on your application and your requirements. Here I'll move away from that setup and be more generic and accept as many arguments as I get, because for this function I am indeed able to handle an infinite amount of arguments.